Hello, and welcome back to Healing in Spite of Me. I'm joined today again with my good friend Jodie, and today we're going to talk about something that is not typically talked about in traditional medicine. And this is a topic that I really feel very strongly is a topic that we need to be addressing and looking at a little bit closer in traditional medicine when we have patients that come in and see us and they're dealing with issues such as we're going to be talking about today. So welcome, Jodie. Thank you for being here with me today.
Oh my gosh, it's my pleasure, Elisa. It's such an honor to be able to do something like this with someone who you respect so much, and you also you have a completely separate skill set than I have. You know what I mean? It's so great.
Yes. Well, but you also bring such a beautiful skill set. This is what you do. You talk to people. And so, having these conversations is your skill set.
Your brain.
Thank you for being here to do exactly that.
I just want to pick your brain. Okay. So I'm going to pick your brain today about the unexpected topic of psychic attacks. Now, some people could hear those two words and, like me, think, oh, we're about to take a deep dive into a big woo-woo space. But I'm hoping that you can help me and our listeners understand that psychic attack could have many different names and many different cultures. It's not necessarily... We're not going completely woo-woo here. We're really talking about what that looks like and the reality of what it is. So can you start by explaining to our listeners and myself, what is a psychic attack?
Yes. Yeah. So the term itself, honestly, is a very, very broad term. It encompasses a lot of different aspects of what this really could mean. So from a big picture perspective, we are energy beings. I talked about this in my first episode. We are all energy as well as, physical matter. And this is a huge aspect of the world we live in. We live in a world where there are energetic energies or attachments or other things. Ghosts is another type of energy that are in our space, that are around us, but that we do not see with our visible eye. Now, there are some people who do see those things, and that's part of what I'll talk about. But there's so much in our environment that we are absolutely unaware of. And essentially, a psychic attack is these invisible energies that come into our auric field, come into our body, and somehow, in some way, and there's different ways of attachment or influence, but they have oftentimes a very negative impact on our bodies, on our mind, on our thoughts, on our physical health. It can truly, wreak havoc on us. And, we see it all throughout histories, right? It like you mentioned, Jodie, religion in and of itself, or just throughout the histories and different cultures, we have belief systems of this. In the Bible, they were getting rid of evil energies and spirits all over. So for us to, I guess now in this time period of 2025, for us to think that it's been throughout history, we have all this evidence of it, it's shown everywhere, and all of a sudden we're not even discussing it or talking about it, and it's not even a part of medicine, I feel is actually a very big disservice. And I feel like this is a topic that we absolutely need to be not just talking about, but we need to be teaching our physicians and other practitioners how to evaluate for this, how to figure out if maybe this is a part of what's going on with someone in a physical sense.
So when we say the word psychic attack, is it fair to equate that to emotional distress, an energy drain, physical symptoms, disruptive thoughts, sleep disturbances, relationship strain, spiritual imbalance, or blockages and obstacles. Is that fair to kind of list
Yeah.
that as in?
Yes, I would definitely say that's fair. And again, depending on the type of influence or attachment or energy that you're dealing with, it's going to manifest in different ways. And again, when we talk about these energies, there are a whole bunch of different types. And I think actually kind of explaining them a little bit will help with that. So Jodie, you mentioned this emotional link. One big story that I have, a very personal story, is one about my daughter. You can listen to it in more depth, on my YouTube channel, or you can even go and read it in my book where I talk about it in depth as well. But essentially what happened is, my sister passed away several years ago, and my daughter was very close with her. And at the time of her passing, my daughter was not there. A lot of circumstances, around that. But when she found out, the next day, she said she was so angry at me. She had never been more angry at anyone. She had never felt that low at any point in her life. Like those were her exact words. And our low emotions, our fear, our anger, those low emotions when we drop into that low frequency, can actually allow a psychic attack. And that is 100% what happened with my daughter. And we started seeing the evidence of that over the next several years. 4.5, 5 years later, we're finally able to really realize exactly what that was. Thankfully, I had people in, my circle and very gifted healers who were able to help detach this attachment that she had. It was a life-changing experience, for our family. And honestly, had I taken my daughter to see a traditional physician, she would have been diagnosed with oppositional defiant disorder. But that's not what was going on with her. She had an influence from a negative, low moment in her life that allowed this to come in and have its influence on her. And that's one example, of several that I have.
When I read this part of your book, Elisa, I stopped in my tracks because here's what I thought. Elisa Peavey with Brian Peavey, great couple, beautiful 3 curly-headed daughters. Are they all 3 curly-headed?
Yeah, the 2 older ones are more, yes, but all of them have curly hair.
Image of Elisa, right? She's a doctor. She lives in beautiful country. They go on trips. You can see it on Facebook, right? I mean, you can look at your life and from an outsider's perspective who hasn't caught up with you in forever and just happens to be a Facebook friend, wow, she's got it all together. So when I read this story in your book, it stopped me in my tracks because I thought, wait a second, that's not perfect. That's not clean. That's dirty. That's something that's not, maybe we're not talking about. Elisa's not putting that on Facebook, right? Thank goodness she wrote this in her book so that I could understand what happened in her life and I could understand her as a person and I could open myself up to what she's saying and how it's changed her life. And so in a way, well, first of all, thank you for sharing because it's such a personal story when we talk about our kiddos. And in your book, you talk about how her eyes were glazed over in hatred. You would get to the place where you're in a hotel room and she would be in an adjoining hotel room with the entire family. And she would kind of, what's the word? She would isolate you. From the family a little bit. Yeah. And there was all of these really negative patterns that a lot of us actually, we hear about with teenagers. So it's very easy for us to be like, oh my gosh, she's a teenager. Here we go. We're in our teens. When in all reality, what happened to her that day the anger that came out towards you that day and stayed deep-seated affected all of your children, affected your relationship with your husband, affected all these things, was so much more than, a teenage episode. It was so much more of,
Right.
oh, she's going through it. Here we go. This is what the
Right.
teen life is going to be like. So I guess my question for you is, if you could explain to us, when that happened, did you feel like the incident that happened was because you didn't tell her aunt was dying? Or do you think that it was much deeper than that? And actually the anger was like a secondary emotion to what had been happening in her life?
I think there was definitely, certainly when she was a teenager, I think there may have been just normal teenager stuff in there for sure. She's always been a very strong-willed child. Like there's anyone that has known her and has seen her grow up, that's just who she's always been. So just saying that, there's going to be, some energies between mom and daughter that are going to probably just be, teenager type related. But truthfully, I do feel that in that moment, because of the closeness with my sister, and like just a week or two before, she had gotten her class to donate money to send to my sister to help with her treatment. She loved her. And so I think it was just, she was like, what? This happened yesterday and you just told me today? And she was just like, why would she do that? And I don't know if it was much deeper in that moment, but it certainly was just very, very impactful and definitely had an impact for several years going forward.
So talking about the types of psychic attacks, in this instance, which type was she encountering?
So this was an emotional thought or the emotion itself that dropped her frequency so low, it allowed this energy to come into her field. Now, other types of attacks, another really good story is one that involves my husband. He was in a business with a few partners, and the partnership that became just not very good, kind of toxic. And unbeknownst to my husband, this partner was speaking so horrifically about my husband that I was later being told about. The words that this guy was saying that he was directing at my husband were having an impact on his field and actually caused an energy to be picked up by him. And we didn't discover it until we went and we were at Souls with Stamina and we had an aura read, and the aura reader looked at his aura and was like, what is this thing that's around your neck and looks like it's kind of, wrapping up around you? And I had been watching him the past couple months prior to this, and he honestly, I swear he looked like he aged 10 years. He looked almost like an old man. He started kind of shrinking in a little bit. And I remember just being like, okay, there's something going on here, but I didn't know what it was. Something was different. And so this aura reader saw it in his aura. And thankfully, we were in a place where we had, again, wonderful healers, and I was able to get him into a session with a sound healer who, through vibration, was able to help release this energy. And the aura reader sat at the end of the table, and she literally watched it. And she said it was going like this, and it was like just flew up. And this is as the music is playing and the vibration is going and everything else. And he looked 10 years younger when he walked out of that room. It just in that 30 minutes or 45 minutes of a session, and he was standing straighter. He looked taller. He looked bigger. It was amazing. And that was caused by someone directing negative thoughts at my husband and continually having those thoughts and spewing words at him over and over again. That is how powerful we are.
Our words are powerful. So the first one on my list after my research on psychic attacks was thought form projection. This type involves someone intentionally directing negative thoughts, emotions, or intentions towards a target. These projected energies can create a sense of discomfort or distress for the recipient. How many times have we been in a room with someone who were like, okay, I know what they're thinking. You can read their minds. So what's interesting is that you've been around healers who can actually see this metaphysically happening. Whereas maybe if you're empathetic just naturally and you're in a room, you might not be able to see that spirit wrapped around that person's neck, but you can read that energy. Like,
yes,
and
you might leave and you're saying, it was gross. It felt yucky in there. I feel drained. Yes.
Let me
yes. There are a lot of people who can feel those things. Yep, absolutely.
I mean, to me, that's just natural, is for me to feel that kind of energy. And I'm the one that runs in the room and tries to break it up and talk to everyone and be loud. You know what I mean? I'm the one that's kind of trying to get that.
You're an empath.
I'm an empath.
So you really feel that energy. And
so do my children. Yeah.
Yes.
But we can't see it. We're not gifted to see that, but we're gifted to feel it. And so are so many other people. And so if we give it a name, it's a psychic attack. If we give it a deeper name, it's a thought form projection. If we give it another name, it would be like bad juju. Something ain't right.
Yeah. I mean, and there are actual, energies out there that, Satan, the devil, evil, there are energies that are specific to that as well. Yes. Right. And when they have opportunity or chance to, again, they will come into your life if they feel like it's going to be beneficial.
A lot of people are uncomfortable with this conversation. People who go to church.
Yeah.
Right. The church folk, all of us folk, we might be uncomfortable, but that's because we're using different words than what you're using. You might be using.
Yes, probably. Yes.
Yeah. You might be saying, oh man, Satan's got a hold of that person.
Right.
So if you're listening and you're like, oh, I'm checked out. This one's going too deep, too far, too woo-woo. No, we're not. We're talking about the same thing that people have talked about for centuries. It's just we're using a different word for it.
Yes, absolutely. And the thing is that I want to talk about this because I want to empower people, less make them afraid and scared of existing in their everyday world, right? So, I mean, that's part of why we do these retreats and we're coming together, but we're teaching people how to protect their energy fields. We're teaching people what their thoughts and emotions, both at other people as well as at their self, what they can do when you're directing negative thoughts at yourself that can drop your field, that can allow for negative energies to come in. There's all kinds of things that we can do to keep ourselves protected. And honestly, we have more power than they do. We just need to be aware of it. We just need to know what the tools are in order for us to move through, every day and live in this multidimensional world that we live in.
Yeah. I mean, the fact is that science has come a long way, right? It's not a physical body and an emotional body. We are much more complicated than we thought we were. And quantum physics has changed everything. And anyone that you talk to will tell you that. And so talk to us a little bit about that, getting kind of outside of our old thought patterns that, oh, there's nothing we can do about that person. That person is so negative. I don't want to be in the room with them. They're giving me bad energy. I'm not going to absorb. I'm an empath. I don't want to absorb their energy. They make me feel a type of way about myself. What can we do What can we do? And we don't want to avoid them because, right, we want to be light. We want to bring the party. We want to be light.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
can we
No,
do
of
in that
course.
scenario? What do you do? You're at a holiday party, right, for your company, and you just want
Yeah.
to go to the other side of the room. What's a great example of like a practice that we can put into like that practical?
Yeah. Yeah. So, honestly, putting a protection shield around your field, and you can do this in a variety of different ways. You can wear crystals that are specific to that, setting intention. You can, before you walk into a party or a place, or if you realize once you get there that I need to go zip up, is what I call it. You can actually go and visually intend that you are protecting your field. And this very much keeps kind of that space from other people coming in to that field and causing problems. So that is something that will empower us, really, something that gives us the ability to block it ourselves. We don't have to go find someone else necessarily to keep that. It's all by intention and making sure you're just keeping your energy field protected.
Yeah, protecting ourselves. And you got to love, like, this is a whole other topic, but you got to love yourself enough to protect yourself. I think a lot of times we put ourselves in these very vulnerable positions. And maybe the people that absorb that attack are those that aren't protecting themselves. They don't love themselves enough to protect themselves, or they're unaware.
They're unaware. Yeah, yeah.
Because, like,
Yeah, I mean,
one thing that I like cannot stop thinking about this week is this quote. Treat yourself, it's right on my board. Treat yourself as you would treat your best friend. Man, I want to believe I'm a good friend. So if I'm going to treat myself that kind of way, I'm going to put in place disciplines in my life to protect me from that energy.
yes. Yes. And maybe it's as simple as when you put your makeup on, you're getting ready before you walk out your bathroom. You're like, okay, the moment I step out of my door, I have a protection shield around my field. Like no energies are going to come in and impact me in a negative way. You can do those things, or you do it in your car before you step out to walk into the place that, that you're going. It's about just a quick routine. It's faster than putting on your mascara. It really doesn't take very long to do, but yet it can be incredibly powerful, and it can keep you from taking on all this stuff that isn't yours. And I'm honestly a perfect example of it because I also am an empath, but I'm a physician. And so I go to work all day and I have people that I come in that see me, and I unintentionally take on their energies throughout the day. And a lot of times I'll be driving home and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so exhausted. And I will clear myself in the car, and all of a sudden it feels like, I just had, a spark of energy that came in because I was able to kind of clear everything that I was dealing with throughout the day. There's all kinds of, energies and times that we can, really clear and get rid of and feel so much better because of that.
The big question, Elisa, is what song do you put on when you want to clear? Because you know what I'm listening to? I'm listening to jock jams all the way.
I like a lot of different songs, but one of the songs that I listened to in Florida a lot, and even now it's like one of my jams is, oh my gosh, I'm gonna, not thinking of the name. I'll have to come back to it.
It's not a jock jam?
No, it's a.
Is it an Eminem song?
No, it's not. It's about the clouds going away and the sun coming out, and it's a Jimi Hendrix. Oh my gosh,
Here
I'm
comes
terrible
the sun.
with names.
Here comes the sun, and
Yeah, that's it.
It is?
That's it. Yes.
You want me to sing it for you?
Sun, doo 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 doo. Here comes the sun, and I say,
Yep. It's all right. Music is so healing. I mean, we don't even talk about it
It is.
enough. Like my
Yes.
New Year's resolution this year is to play music in my kitchen, the craziest music, and dance and laugh more. Like it is healing, healing. Not just those
It
gongs,
is.
not just that sound bowl, but music.
It is. It is. I so appreciate you bringing that up, Jodie, because honestly, that is so true. And music in and of itself is high vibration. Not all music, but a lot of music, very high vibration. And think about how we feel when we put on a song that makes us start dancing and moving. All of a sudden, we feel better. Just in that doing that and actually moving our bodies, we're releasing energy off of our auric fields. That's what dogs do when they go out and run around outside. They're releasing all this energy they take on, and they come back inside to cuddle with us. I mean, it's pretty cool just being able to bring in something like the music and just, deciding to do a little two-step for a couple minutes, and suddenly you'll feel, better and more elevated, and it's amazing.
I want to ask you about two other options or therapies that will help you ward off psychic attacks. One thing I want to ask you about is with your family, it took a long period of time to get to the place where you could go to family camp together and you guys could have an experience with your daughter that would be life-changing. And so sometimes when you're dealing with something that's just so much deeper than, you being able to, set an intention in the morning. How did you guys go about that process? And you needed a healer to help you guys through that. Am I right?
Yeah, we really did. And people that knew Taylor from one summer to the next, as far as when everything changed, that were at Souls with Stamina, this week-long family camp that Jodie mentioned. Even they mentioned it was a drastic difference. They were like, "Wow, the way is with you is like 100-degree or 180-degree, difference." And so I knew just because of how I grew up and my intuitive aspects, I knew that there was something going on with Taylor that needed to be addressed, probably with a healer, an intuitive healer that worked in this realm. But I didn't know exactly what that looked like or what that meant. And thankfully, though, the people that were meant to be a part of that, it just kind of all fell into place for me as far as getting that taken care of. And they were all very just willing to just be there, for me and for my family. And I know that not everybody has that, so I feel very grateful, for that aspect. But because of that, I now know all these people. I have a big circle of amazing healers in my life that I can direct people to. If it's not me, I can direct you to a number of people that can help with this, because it is, again, a very real thing for so many families and individuals.
The second thing I want to ask you about when it comes to the practice or the habit of warding off negative auras. I didn't say that very good, but you know what I'm trying to say. I don't always have words for everything that you say. Like, I'm like, what does she mean by that? Okay, maybe it's aura, But one thing that you recommended for me, which I thought was fascinating, was audio therapy or sound therapy. You had done something with me that was so cool. Like, see, I don't know the names of them, of these therapies, but you gave me audio files and you were like, if you listen to this audio file, similar to like we were talking about music, if you listen to this, you will notice a difference. I have seen people listen to these audio files and it has changed them. Can you explain a little bit about that to me?
Yeah. Well, again, everything is really emotional. We are emotional beings. And so that's kind of driving at the core how our body is working in terms of, its balance and harmony. If we are emotionally balanced, our bodies are going to function more optimally and they're going to do so much better. And so that what you're talking specifically, it's a device called an AO frequency scanner. And essentially this inner voice part of it, there's a whole bunch that this scanner does, but this inner voice part specifically, you talk into it for about 10 seconds and it listens to the inflections in your voice. And based on those inflections, it can tell where you're at from an emotional standpoint. And so we can kind of do that to some extent as well, right? So if someone's speaking and you can tell that they're fearful, you can almost hear that in their voice. Or if they're angry, you can hear anger in their voice, right? But of course, the scanner picks up on the more subtle frequencies that we don't hear. And what it does essentially is it picks it gets the top 4 emotions that are out of whack or out of balance, and it gives a set of music or frequencies that essentially helps to balance those emotions. It's phenomenal, and it's very relaxing, very peaceful. But I've had patients who've been on their antidepressants for 20 years and have never really achieved a much better state of joy or happiness. And 2 weeks after they started doing this every day, all of a sudden they're feeling joy again and, in their life. And, just stories like that, it's remarkable. So just from a frequency, energy, emotional standpoint, if we're feeling joy and happiness and calm and peace, we're not in a space where we're going to be allowing energies, these low energies into our lives,
Yeah, it's so much easier for me to understand psychic attacks from that perspective of like low energies, low frequency, because that's what people are talking about, right? We're not yet there in society that they're going to actually talk about psychic attacks. We're not going to hear that word at the grocery store, but we may today in 2025 hear low frequency. And we know those people who are low frequency. I was going through such a time, Elisa, and I had you kind of do this frequency thing on me. And it was funny because I thought, this is the hardest time of my life. I can't wait to see how low my frequency is. Well, and then you came back and you were like, Jodie, it ain't that bad. And I was like, wait, what? This is the worst time. This is the worst day of my life. And so like some people are just naturally not low. Like they're just naturally not low. But I love that there's things that we can do from that standpoint, from that realm, that can really change our lives. There's so many things that contributed with this particular psychic attack in your life to relationships. And I have to ask now, how's she doing? How are the relationships in your family? And do you still have to do some maintenance inside your family unit when it comes to this type of stuff?
Yes.
And are you available for a home visit?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Are you available for a home visit?
Yeah. Yes.
Clear some energy. I guess the other thing that you do, it's the clearing ceremony is what people do, and a cord cutting and earth cording. What in the world? Is that the maintenance that you're doing?
No. So those are more like routine things that you can do, or if you know that there's something. Let's say there's someone in your life that you can feel is draining you, or there's something there that's not right. That's where the cord detachment or cord cutting comes in. You have to be really careful, honestly, with how you say things when you're cutting cords, because they can often feel it, and then they could send something back. There's so much we could talk about in terms of what all this means, but but yes, you can definitely, you're you're grounding yourself in your own space. You're protecting your aura. You're putting, you're zipping up essentially your auric field so that people around you are not able to basically come in and influence or negatively send darts your way.
So before you guys
So
get together for like a pizza party on a Friday night, are you guys like, okay, we're going to do a clearing ceremony. We're good. We're clearing all this energy. And then these girls who are now older, they're in their 20s, right?
well, Taylor will be 21 this year. Bella
Yeah.
is graduating from high school, and my
There
daughter
we go.
Emmy is a freshman.
Yeah.
No, I mean it's more what I do, and they tolerate me. I have my smoke going. I've got my crystals. I do my meditations.
You're saging.
I do, 100%. I mean, I saged before, we recorded this today. I have my oils on. I've got my,
Dude,
high frequency oils that are wonderful and helping protect and do some amazing things for you.
I was
I just
looking
I just do
around for
things
my
like that on the
sage.
regular.
This is all I
You
got.
what?
I was looking around for my stage. This is all I got. This and an old cup of coffee. I love that. Tell us, okay, here's what I want to know before we end today. I want to know
Okay.
what life is like today with
Yes.
the love, the clear
Yeah.
communication, the beautiful braided cord between you and your daughter and your entire
Yeah.
family. Obviously,
Yeah.
families go through stuff. We all have hard times. But what is that energy like now that she has essentially been healed?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and like you said, like we are definitely a family, and families still, there's, ebbs and flows and stuff like that. But really and truly, my family has never been stronger. And I say that for everybody in my family. I say that for Bella and Emmy, who really watched it and were a part of it. And it was tough. It was really hard for them. And in fact, Bella put a lot of that in her personal statement for applying to colleges because it had such an impact on her life. As far as Taylor, she's amazing. She's incredibly strong. She's smart. She sees more now because of that experience. She's still very stubborn and she still likes to do things her way. Sometimes we, just like we had a little thing a couple of weeks ago, just trying to figure out how to support her with money and what that looks like for her and stuff. And, it was, we never were able to have conversations like that. Like we couldn't have done it. It would have ended without any resolution, and we were able to finish the conversation all the way through. And, and she's listening and open and receptive, I mean, that's I truly did not have that for 4 or 5 years. I didn't. And so I'm just incredibly grateful. I'm so grateful for where we're at. And there's always work. There's always protecting and communication and stuff like that. But really and truly it's Jodie, I'm so incredibly blessed. I can't even express to you.
You got to write a new book because I need
Yeah.
like you read your book and I was just bawling about hearing about her. And it's so good to hear this because, one of the things in researching this episode was that I was shocked by the number of families. I don't know why I'm shocked. I was a teenager once, but the number of families who have those bad relationships between them and their children or them and their teenagers specifically. I mean, who hasn't struggled with a teenager? But I love that, like looking at my teenager and his attitude and, just his health and all of these things that are maybe going on in his life that I can see that might be contributing to a bad vibe of some sort with me. Man, I can have some control over that. Like, he's not letting me smother him anymore. Like, I can't just like, I love you, I love you, I love you. He doesn't let me do that anymore. So to look at a teenager and be like, okay, yeah, they're not tracking. To look at a teenager and see, oh, they don't feel great. Their energy is super low. Maybe they're not eating the best, or maybe they're on their phone too much. To be able to have control as a parent over a situation, and you can talk, many families are going to talk about how that scenario, it could be much worse. I mean, we're dealing with like behavioral issues and people being violent with families, and there's so much going on. There's something that we can do about it. And it means going to a doctor. It means going to a healer. It means finding alternative medicine. Like, you can look at a situation in a family and be like, oh, they're just a teenager. Maybe I've heard this so many times. They'll like you again when they get married.
Yeah. I mean, I think more than anything, if the parents, moms, dads, even as well, but there's, we get gut instincts about our kids. And if your gut is telling you that it's not just what's been diagnosed, or it's not just what's being told to you, there's something. Listen to that. I would listen to that and seek someone out. Get in touch with me, and I will get you in contact with someone. That right there, that gut instinct, so many parents have that, and I'm just encouraging you to listen to it, because and it's not just as parents and kids, it could be your spouse, it could be your parent or something, but I think a lot of parents know there's something more. So
but think about
listen.
If you didn't do that, your life changed because you listened to your intuition, and you fought for your daughter, and you fought for your family, and now your life is different. You lived for 4 or 5 years with a lot of pain, in a very painful place. Your daughters were affected by it. Your marriage was affected by it, like we talked about before. But had you not listened to your intuition, your gut instinct, you wouldn't have that beautiful, we're going to have to show a picture. You wouldn't have that beautiful family that you do today. So I appreciate your encouragement for all of us moms who are in the trenches.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Jodie.
Oh my gosh, we're so grateful. So yeah, tell us a little bit about, while we wrap up here, what can I do? What can our listeners do to possibly get in on a little bit of this family therapy, this family good stuff that you've experienced?
Yes. Yeah, well, we're hosting a family camp this summer for a week that is going to be energetically realigning and empowering families, both as individuals, but as well as the family unit, just to work better, to be more communicable, to be more in harmony with each other. And it is going to be pretty amazing. We have an art therapist that's specific for the kiddos that will get to go through a bunch of processes and do fun art therapy and other amazing activities that they're going to love. There's swimming and fishing and, all that kind of stuff as well. So yeah, we're all about making the family stronger. And this camp is going to do exactly that. So, and then of course we have retreats for adults a couple of retreats prior to that, that is, working on the adult energy systems and any trauma or things that they would like to let go of, or things they'd like to work on. Of course, teach people how to protect their energy. We're going to be doing a lot of that too in all of these retreats.
It's huge to give kids the ability to do that now as young people, so that they don't grow up and end up at that holiday party feeling like they're about to crawl out of their own skin. Yes. They can learn these amazing ways to protect themselves. Yeah. I love it. Love it. So all of this information is going to be available below. You can check out the links on however you're listening here. You can check out the links. It's healinginspiteofme.org if you'd like more information about Dr. Elisa Peavey. Elisa, you're one of my favorite people in the world, and I can't wait to talk to you next week.
Thank you so much, Jodie, for joining me here today and for giving me a conversation, something to talk about.
Thank you for listening to Healing in Spite of Me. I hope today's conversation inspired you to take a step closer to healing and rediscovering your true self. Change takes grace and self-compassion, and you're not alone on this journey. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who might need it, and subscribe so you never have to miss an episode. For resources, retreats, and more, visit inspiteofme.org or connect with Dr. Elisa Peavey on social media. Until next time, keep reclaiming your story and reigniting your purpose.